Tennessee Titans quarterback Malik Willis bounces back in a major way at Tennessee Titans practice on Tuesday. I'm breaking that down and more on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, Malik Willis bounced back in a major way at Tuesday's practice. I'm going to talk about what happened. Plus, the defense continues to be dominant, forcing 2 interceptions on the day and almost a third. Also, the Tennessee Titans wide receiver depth chart is getting increasingly more competitive. So we're going to dive into all that. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode, or should I say, I should thank you guys for making today's episode your first listen each and every day. Remember, the Locked On Titans podcast is daily, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round on all apps, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed to the Locked On Titans podcast, where it's your team every day. Throw a thumbs up on the video as well. Don't ask for much. The show's always free. In return, all I ask for is the press of a button. But with that being said, we do got to dive into today's news. And like I said at the top, Malik Willis bounced back in a major way. We talked yesterday about the struggles that Malik Willis had during the simulated 2-minute drill, the unscripted 2-minute drill that the Titans went on yesterday. There were some timing issues, delay of game, letting the clock run down. Mike Vrabel was yelling at Malik Willis to get it going and to hurry up, all that. And to Mike Vrabel's credit, yesterday at his press conference, and I read the quote to you guys. I found it very interesting the way that he said that they were exposing Malik Willis to this sort of unscripted 2-minute drill. Mike Vrabel did say at the very end of that quote, I expected to be better tomorrow, or I expected to be better next time, is what he said. Well, right out of the gate at Titans practice, the Titans went into an unscripted 2-minute drill. Same situation as yesterday. 1 minute, 10 seconds on the clock. On the other 25-yard line, can you march the team down the field and get a field goal to win? The goal is to get a field goal. Well, like I said, Malik had some struggles yesterday, but not today. Malik Willis was the only quarterback to lead his group down, get in field goal position, and ultimately make the kick. And Malik put the team in a great spot. Mike Vrabel talked about after practice how not every 2-minute drill is going to result in a 30-yard field goal like you want. But in Malik Willis's time, it did result in a 30-yard field goal. So shout out to A to Z Sports on-site reporting. This is what we got. Malik Willis gets the ball. A complete pass to Mason Kinsey for 9 yards. Then there's an incomplete pass, 44 seconds left on the clock. Malik Willis makes a throw to Colton Dow. He gets out of bounds and gets a first down. Then he throws a ball short to Josh Wiley. Josh Wiley gets out of bounds. 33 seconds left. Malik Willis looking, nothing, throws the ball away. Then comes the biggest play of practice on the offensive side of the ball. Malik Willis completes a 25-yard pass to Reggie Roberson, who continues to ball out at practice, and we'll talk about him later in the show. But a 25-yard pass to Reggie Roberson, get up on the ball. Malik Willis spikes it, stops the clock. Trey Wolf on the field, 33-yard field goal is good. Malik Willis bounces back in a major way with an excellent 2-minute drill drive, unscripted. Exactly what we talked about yesterday that Malik struggled with. Came back on Tuesday and had the best drive of any of the offenses out there. So shout out to Malik Willis. And Mike Vrabel talked about how well Malik Willis is doing, or I guess the changes that he's seen from Malik Willis. And Vrabel said this: there's times when you have to use your ability. That's his movement. Being able to escape and run is something that he has to be able to do. But keep his eyes downfield. Be able to, when guys break, cool. He had a cool play with Josh Wiley, long gain for the offense. He was sliding over there, not taking off, not running too quick, looking downfield, keeping his eyes downfield, forcing the defense into coming out of coverage or plastering. So basically, Malik Willis did a great job on this drive and throughout the day of keeping his eyes downfield. And even when he had the ability to take off and run and make a play, and Mike Vrabel said it, Malik could have got a big gain by taking off and running. He could have done that. But instead, Malik kept his eyes downfield, found a guy, threw the pass, completed it, and it turned into a big gain as well. So Malik Willis getting some positive praise from Mike Vrabel. Again, a major bounce back from Malik Willis yesterday. A really good 2-minute unscripted drive for him. Went play-by-play through it. The big catch to big pass to Reggie Roberson for 25 yards to set the Titans up for the field goal. Gets the spike. I mean, excellent stuff from Malik Willis. And what a way to bounce back from yesterday. So good stuff there. I also do want to mention another quote that Mike Vrabel had here about Willis that goes beyond football, and it goes back to earlier in the offseason during OTAs when Mike Vrabel was asked, or the offensive coaching staff was asked, what did you want to see from Malik Willis this year? What did you want him to improve on? They didn't talk about accuracy, footwork, command in the huddle. They talked about having a presence about him, being an NFL quarterback, having that moxie, having that swagger, you could say. They wanted to see that presence from Malik Willis. And Mike Vrabel said this after practice on Tuesday. The way he walks in the building, you know when he's there. I'll leave it at that. There's a presence to him, bopping around. You know he's there. Not just being there, he's engaged. You hear him, you see him, all positives. So whether we're talking about Malik bouncing back from a bad practice yesterday or a bad moment in practice, whether we're talking about his presence in the building, whether we're talking about learning how to utilize his mobility but not overutilize his mobility to take advantage of defenses, it was a very good day for Malik Willis, and I'm very excited to watch him play on Saturday night. As I said earlier this week, I think that Malik Willis deserves to start the first preseason game of the year. He deserves the first opportunity to go out there and show how much he's improved. And guys, you have to admit, this backup quarterback situation may not be a big factor when we get into the regular season. Well, hopefully the Titans are able to stay healthy, especially Tannehill, but it makes for a very, very interesting preseason. On the day, Malik Willis was 8 for 15, 56 for 99 overall, according to Jim Wyatt for training camp. So a bounce back day for Malik Willis, some high praise from Mike Vrabel. Great to see him respond after that rough 2-minute drill that he had at yesterday's practice on Monday. But with that being said, we got to talk about the rest of the team and mostly talk about the defense. Ryan Tannehill threw 2 interceptions. I have the graphic wrong. I admit I have the graphic wrong. Not 3 interceptions. It was 2 interceptions, but it probably should have been a 3rd interception as well. And Tannehill has 3 interceptions now for camp overall. So whatever way you want to color it, just wanted to let you guys know what was going on there. But with that being said, we're going to come back, talk about this Tennessee Titans dominant defense and the poor day for Ryan Tannehill. Before we get into that, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Guys, it's time for Best Ball Mania. You need to get ready for your local fantasy football drafts. There is no better way to do that than trying out Best Ball Fantasy on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is guys, it's so easy. You do a snake draft, which you're used to doing all the time. It's live. Then you don't even have to worry about waivers. Don't have to worry about trades. Underdog is going to set your best lineup every single week. And right now, it's Underdog's Best Ball Mania tournament. Guys, this is the largest fantasy football contest of all time. And now it's back and even bigger. They're going to have $15 million of total prizes up for grabs. That includes an absurd $3 million going to the winner. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July. So don't wait around, guys. Best Ball Mania on Underdog Fantasy is a great way to not only set yourself up to win some big money, but also get ready for your own personal fantasy drafts right now, if you visit underdogfantasy.com or just find it in the App Store, Underdog Fantasy, it's the easiest way to do it as well. But when you sign up, use the promo code Locked On. You're going to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code Locked On. Best Ball Mania is the biggest and best fantasy competition in the world, and you got a chance to win some big dough. So again, go to underdogfantasy.com, promo code Locked On. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're breaking down Tuesday's practice. Again, Malik Willis with a great bounce back in the exact same situation that he struggled in yesterday, came back and operated the best offensive drive that we saw in that period from the Titans' 3 offensive teams. So you got to give credit. Mike Vrabel was praising him. Good thing for Malik Willis. Again, I want to see him start on Saturday night. He should start on Saturday night. And very, very excited to watch that game against the Chicago Bears. But with that being said, want to tell you guys about a couple of things that's coming your way. So, number one, tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a depth chart breakdown. The Titans released their first depth chart of the year. A lot of stuff in there. Dr. Gibby over Monty Rice. Some other very interesting things that I want to take a look at. So I'm going to be breaking that down on tomorrow's show. Also, I'm going to have a preview for you guys before Saturday night's game, talking about what to be looking for, players to watch, all of that. And then Saturday night, immediately after the game ends, I'm going to be going live here on the Locked On Titans YouTube channel to break down everything that took place in the first preseason game of the year. So very excited for all that. Thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Don't ask for a lot. Show's always free. All I ask for in return is support the channel with a subscribe and a thumbs up. But diving into the defense's performance here, Ryan Tannehill threw 2 interceptions. Again, the graphic is a little wrong. It's 2 interceptions. Tannehill's thrown 3 interceptions for camp overall. Should have been 3 interceptions, though, during the day. But either way, Tannehill threw 2 interceptions on the day. One of them, Kevin Byard knocked a pass up in the air, and Azeez Al-Shire was able to intercept it. On another one, Elijah Molden was able to knock a ball up into the air. And then Amani Hooker was able to intercept it. So 2 interceptions on 2 deflected passes. And honestly, if you go back and look at the Chigakonkwo one, the second interception that Molden knocked away and went to Amani Hooker, that was just a terrible pass by Ryan Tannehill. It was way behind Chigakonkwo. Somebody said to me on Twitter, devil's advocate, what if Chigakonkwo ran the route wrong? Okay, if you want to defend Tannehill and that's what you want to assume, go ahead. But it looked like a pretty terrible pass, in my opinion, from what we saw. But anyways, with that being said, it was a rough day for Tannehill. He started off well. He got going pretty well, but just very little success for the first-team offense in back-to-back days now. We've been talking about Will Levis and Malik Willis in these 11-on-11 2-minute drills. You know who hasn't scored a single point in back-to-back days on offense? The first-team offense. The defense has completely eliminated the first-team offense, it feels like, in practice. And it's too early to freak out about it, but at the same time, we got to give praise to the defense where it's due. They're absolutely dominating training camp. And I want to point this out because I thought this quote was incredibly interesting. Stillman. I forget Stillman's first name. Some of you guys who are local probably will remember. I know it typically. Justin? Is it Justin Stillman? I don't remember. Whatever. Either way. But Stillman asked Christian Fulton if he has ever seen a defense dominate in training camp the way the Titans defense has dominated this year. And Fulton said, quote, no, honestly. Jared, thank you, Music City Malik. Jared Stillman. Yeah, so Stillman does his own radio show there in Nashville, but he asked Fulton straight up, have you ever seen a defense dominate an offense like this in training camp? And Fulton said, no, he hasn't. I mean, at some point, we have to at least, because the conversation becomes, is it great defense against the offense? Is it bad offense? What is it? Is it good defense, bad offense? What is it? And I think that the Titans defense will be absolutely incredible. But at some point, we have to accept it's probably a little bit of both. You know what I mean? It's probably a touch of both in there. The offense, the Titans offense isn't going to go from absolutely terrible to amazing overnight. It's just not going to happen. So the offense is probably going to take some time to get up to their best selves. But the defense, man, to me, this is more about the defense than the offense. I've talked about the offense, but I'm just so excited about what this Titans defense can be. And the guy that we need to talk about the most is Azeez Al-Shaair. Everyone is hyping up Azeez right now. They also asked Christian Fulton who on the defense has impressed him the most so far, and he said Azeez. Azeez Al-Shaair is going to be a monster in the middle of the Titans defense. I mean, it's going to be incredible to watch. I know that we can worry about the offense, and we should rightfully worry about the offense. But again, defense is typically ahead of offense when you talk about training camp, because these guys have been running cover 4, cover 2, cover 3, man, blah, blah, blah. They've been running those defenses their entire lives. Offense is a little more particular. It changes a little bit. The language of offense is a little more complex, and it varies a little more from team to team, program to program than defense does. So I'm going to give the offense just a touch of a break and really focus on the fact that the defense is locked down. The secondary has been incredible. Christian Fulton playing his best football. Sean Murphy-Bunting is what the Titans hoped Caleb Farley would be. Maybe he doesn't have the pure athleticism, but he's getting his hands on passes. The other interception that Tannehill has had during training camp was Sean Murphy-Bunting. Also, like I said, Elijah Molden was the guy who knocked away one of those Tannehill passes that turned into an interception for Amani Hooker. Also, according to Jim Wyatt from TennesseeTitans.com, Amani Hooker has really flashed lately. Amani Hooker has really started making plays and been active lately in training camp. So Hooker's healthy and getting back confident and getting back in the flow of things. We know who Kevin Byard is. We know that Elijah Molden, that's another thing from the depth chart. Tomorrow, we are going to break down the Tennessee Titans' first depth chart of the preseason. Elijah Molden isn't listed at cornerback, folks. He's listed at safety. So it looks like when all of you guys told me earlier in the offseason that Molden was just cross-training at safety and that he's still going to play slot corner. He's still going to play slot corner, but he's more of a safety now. It fits his skill set a lot better. And people call me crazy sometimes when I just say really logical, simple things. Anyways, moving right along. Molden looking good, getting comfortable as the third safety. Hooker getting more comfortable. Christian Fulton playing his best ball. Murphy-Bunting healthy. Roger McCreary still in there. I mean, the Titans secondary has just been doing incredible. Now, worth noting, again, back to what Christian Fulton said in his press conference. Christian Fulton said that the front seven has been ridiculous, and he's really excited to watch them play. Well, count me in on that. I do want to mention that there was a little bit of a back and forth between ESPN's Teron Davenport and Mike Vrabel about the defense. Teron asked a very simple question and a correct question, in my opinion, of, is it hard to evaluate the offense when the defense is winning this way? Blah, 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 blah. You know, basically the defense is playing so well. And Vrabel was like, well, I don't know about that evaluation. The defense jumped off sides once, gave up a 30-yard pass, blah, 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 all that. But I trust Teron Davenport and his analysis of practice. I know that Mike Vrabel isn't always going to tell the God-honest truth when he's up at a press conference as well. So with those two things in mind, I think that the Titans defense is definitely wrecking shop out there. And I'm not going to get concerned yet, but if the Titans offense is terrible in some of these joint practices against the Vikings and against the Patriots, then we will have a different conversation there. But now we'll just focus on the positive, that the Titans defense is playing absolutely incredible. But with that being said, I want to dive into some stock up, stock down, tighten up, tighten down for some of the wide receivers that are battling for a roster spot there at the end of things. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Malik Willis's big bounce back day. We also talked about Ryan Tannehill throwing 2 interceptions, almost threw a third that Azeez Al-Shire almost picked off on a quick Kyle Phillips pass, according to Jim White, but that didn't get picked off. So we'll just call it 2, but it's 3 interceptions for Tannehill on training camp, 2 interceptions on Tuesday. The defense absolutely balling. But I kind of want to talk about something off the beaten path a little bit. We talked about the quarterback battle. We talked about starting defense against the starting offense and all that. But there are some wide receivers that are starting to separate themselves and some wide receivers who are starting to kind of take a step back. So we're going to discuss that before we get into it. Thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round on all apps, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed to the Locked On Titans podcast. It's your team every day. Tomorrow, my everydayers, I got a treat for you guys the rest of this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a depth chart review. The Titans put out their first depth chart of the preseason. We're going to go over all of that. Malik Willis at QB2, Dr. Gibby over Monty Rice, Kyle Phillips is wide receiver 5. I'm going to explain all of that on tomorrow's show. Thursday, we're going to cover practice again. Friday, I'm going to have a game preview for you guys for Saturday's preseason game. And then immediately after the game ends on Saturday, I'm going to be here live to break down everything that happened. So just wanted to let you guys know about all the content I got coming up for you guys the rest of the week for free. Again, get subscribed, stay subscribed to the Locked On Titans podcast. But according to Sam Fallon, don't know for certain, Phalen from A to Z Sports, there are 2 wide receivers who are really starting to step up and 2 wide receivers who maybe haven't done themselves a lot of favors. Number 1, the 2 wide receivers that haven't really put themselves in the best light is Racey McMath, the third-year wide receiver out of LSU, and then Colton Dow, the Titans draft pick from this year. Now, I want to get into Racey McMath first because I know a lot of you guys are high on Racey. He seems like he has a lot of potential. 6'3", 4.4 speed, big bodied guy. I could see what people see in Racey McMath. I can see that. But it's my opinion, and it seems to be playing out that way, that Racey McMath is purely a special teams player. He's a big, strong, physical athlete. But guess what? You're in the NFL. Pretty much everybody is a big, strong, fast, physical athlete. That you're surrounded by them. So in the NFL, it's not just big, strong, fast, physical athletes. It's big, strong, physical athletes with skill that can catch the ball, that are fluid, that play with good movement. Racey McMath just doesn't have the skill. He's not a good route runner. He doesn't have great hands. He is big, physical, fast, but that doesn't mean that you're going to succeed in the NFL when you're surrounded by people with those characteristics. Racey ran a route today during individual drills where Mike Vrabel was kind of involved in the drill, and he had his arm covered with a pad, and he was just basically trying to disrupt the wide receivers while they catch the ball. It was an in route. Go up, cut inside. Racey rounded that thing, man. I mean, it was not a good route. It was ugly. And Mike Vrabel said, I'll say it the PG version because I know some of you guys get a little offended. He said, GD, Racey. Little wide on turn 3. Now, it was funny, but think about it. You know, not a good route from Racey McMath, a guy who's not a good route runner already. Racey McMath has dropped a couple of passes. Paul Kaharski reported on Tuesday that there was a pass that Racey put one hand up for that he thought should have had 2 hands up for. Paul even called it weak. And then you get the Sam Phelan report that Racey McMath has done himself no favors this training camp. Look, Racey McMath is a great special teams player. He has the ability to be a great special teams player. But is he a better special teams player than Nick Westbrook-Akine? Is he a better special teams player than Chris Moore? Is he a better special teams player than Chris Jackson? Other players on the Titans roster who have proven more that they can be more valuable special teams players and stay healthy? No. So if you have all this Racey McMath is going into year 3, folks. I think it's just time that the Titans look elsewhere. He's never going to be the player that a lot of us hope that he could be with the characteristics and the traits that he has. So Racey McMath really struggling, dropping passes, running wide routes. He just hasn't helped himself, according to reports. But on the other side of the Sam Phelan report, it was Colton Dow, the rookie, who dropped some passes in training camp and has been outperformed by a guy like Treshawn Harrison, an undrafted free agent, by a guy like Reggie Roberson, who admittedly is going into his second year, but still. Colton Dow, in my opinion, was always a really good option for the Titans if they didn't get DeAndre Hopkins. Because Colton Dow, in my opinion, has more wide receiver ability than Nick Westbrook-Akine or Racing McMath. He's more of a wide receiver than those guys. But he's not going to add the special teams value. So if you didn't have Hopkins, I would prioritize a guy with more wide receiving ability. But now that the Titans have Hopkins, I would prioritize a guy who gives you more special teams ability. And even when you're looking at wide receiver ability, Reggie Roberson has a skill set with his speed and deep threat ability that Colton Dow doesn't offer. It's something that the Titans don't have on the roster. So Reggie Roberson could be a more effective player for the Titans and a more varied skill set in their wide receiver group. You look at a guy like Treshawn Harrison, who is also a rookie who went undrafted, who has outperformed Colton Dow so far. So tighten up for Reggie Roberson and Treshawn Harrison, who continue to make plays, especially Reggie Roberson. Every single day, we hear about great plays being made down the field by Reggie Roberson. I worry about the special teams factor because here's the truth, guys. Reggie Roberson and Treshawn Harrison can be better wide receivers than Colton Dow or Racey McMath. But when you're the sixth wide receiver on the depth chart, because to me, 5 spots are taken. Hopkins, Burks, Phillips, Moore, NWI. Those spots are taken. So you're talking about a 6th wide receiver. If you're going to be a 6th wide receiver on the team, you better have some special teams ability, or Mike Vrabel's simply not going to keep you around. Now, maybe because NWI and Chris Moore should have such big roles on special teams, almost bit my own tongue off there. Jesus. If those guys, NWI and Chris Moore, are so good on special teams that Mike Vrabel would rather maybe get a guy with more receiving talent as wide receiver 6, then I think Roberson and Harrison are in a great spot. But it definitely does. It definitely depends just on what Mike Vrabel is looking for from that last spot. But what we know is we know that Reggie Roberson and Treshawn Harrison have outperformed Racey McMath and Colton Dow so far. So I know that some of you guys don't find these end of the depth chart conversations as exciting as I do, but what can I tell you? I'm a nerd. I love this stuff. I love diving into every position. Everything matters to me with this team. Love the Titans, baby. I hope you guys too. Tighten up in the chat. Tighten up in the chat. But with that being said, we talked about Malik Willis bouncing back in practice. We talked about Ryan Tannehill throwing multiple interceptions and the defense in general dominating training camp so far. And we talked about a camp battle taking place at the end of the depth chart at wide receiver. I'm going to be back tomorrow to break down the Titans depth chart. So excited for that conversation and what's to come this week. That is going to do it, though, for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.